So I want to talk to you on how to start a talk and how you should start your talk when you give a talk. And the reason for that is very easy. I see how you start your talks. Actually, I see how everyone at my conference starts their talks because I do the video editing, okay? And so when I edit the videos, I see it and I thought, well, it's time to talk about some things. Especially because sometimes I do have problems to edit the start of a video because things are just mixed up and that shouldn't happen. And I understand that this nervousness and stuff that sometimes happens. But I do think that generally, even experienced speakers should be aware about how to start a talk. That is actually an important part, which is easy to oversee because it seems to be easy. You just go in the room and start your talk, right? What is the talk about this? Well, actually, I do think it's time to give some feedback and tips on how to start a talk. First, before you start, there's some things which you should do. Tech check, make sure your talk is live streamed. It's like one case we had last year when we started one of the days in a room, the break screen was still on. And so when you start your talk, make sure that the cameras are rolling and stuff like that. Also, my staff should do that, and the video person itself shouldn't have been sleeping. So I don't know what the issue was there, but at least we had the sound, so I could don't have to pull the talk. And we're trying to fix it on other ways, but this is like part of the tech check for you as a speaker to ensure that actually the live stream is already rolling and that the media person knows that you're starting your talk and not just that you surprise them by starting your talk. Okay, so talk to them. You probably got a microphone on and stuff like that, and then tell them, yeah, I'm about to start my talk. Let's go live. And let's continue talking about what people do before their talks. And I don't want to give advice on that. That's actually your thing, what you want to do, right? People banter, and that's totally fine. Some people are just waiting for the time, and it's for me as a conference organizer and my team, it's very important to start on time. I've once started a keynote before the time was because just I had didn't want to leave people waiting in the room, and I just finished my introduction and we went rolling. But that wasn't received so well because some people were then not in the room 10 minutes early, and so that's when I learned that. So waiting for time, reading, checking out the room, killing time, it's everybody. It's people in the room do the same thing, right? Some people do troubleshooting. And when you do all those things, don't mix that with the start of your talk. Especially the folks who banter are prone to continue the conversation they had with the audience into the start of their talk. There's people saying, hello, this is my name. Then they banter, and then they don't repeat that sentence. They just, start their talk. And then they say, well, let's start the talk, which is a fine sentence to say, by the way. But some people just start the talks mid-sentence. They're going like, I'm banter, yeah. And then other people introduce it, they start the talk, and then then there's still someone in the audience bantering with them, and they react to that, and it makes it really, really difficult sometimes to cut that. And it's just what life is, these talks are live, they're not recorded, they're not pre-recorded, so that naturally happens when you're on site. So take a break so that your audience knows, but also later the video editor makes video to editing so much easier when you take a break. Maybe you say, well, I'm about to start my talk, and then easy thing to do is to drink something, because you will need the water, because speaking gives you a dry mouth. So drink something, and then go on, say a few things about your talk, and then start your talk. And always then take a break before you're actually mentally starting your talk. Which brings me to, how do you start a talk, right? How should you start your talk? It's kind of easy. Just, you start with your slides and then you keep rolling. But let's talk about the structure and why the beginning of your talk is so important. The first 30 to 120 seconds, like the first 2 minutes of your talk count. That is the audience retention. That is when you capture the audience or not. And online, it's pretty normal that you lose a big amount of people which came by. They just, clicked on your talk and they go somewhere else. That's fine. But also for the audience in the room, they might, have similar patterns when they get out their phone and start looking. You should be aware that there is a window of interest. And an audience retention online and also on-site is usually like the first 2 minutes when you start your talk. 30 seconds is online often like quoted as the window, which is measured by YouTube. So if you have the interest to have a lot of people watch your talk online, be aware that this is very important, like the first 2 minutes to capture that interest. Also in the room, again, people have phones and will start looking at that. So get folks interested in watching your talk and listening to you. And that should be what your talk intro is about, what you start your talk with. A good structure that, pays attention to that is to have, after your title slide, an overview, an agenda, and a motivation, and then start your talk. For some people, it should be that they have an introduction slide, and some people need an employer slide. Some people want to have one because their employer is great. That's okay. But I think it's bad to have that after the title slide and to think that it's a good idea to get this just out of the way. So just, stick around with me while I talk about myself. And this is my employer. And now we can start the actual talk. In that way, you kind of miss this window where people are actually start listening to you. And they're in the room because they want to listen to your talk. They're interested in the talk. This is not like, a personal meeting where people are interested in you as a speaker. They're coming for the talk. So talk first about your talk. Then tell them a bit about yourself. And I know that a lot of you need an employer slide. That is not optional for many. That is like, they paid your way there and you want to thank them with a slide, or need to thank them. You got that slide from marketing. It's better be in your talk, right? So I understand that. That's fine. Totally fine. And then, continue rolling with your talk. So use the first minutes of your talk to engage with your audience. Make them listen to you, okay? Capture them to be with you during your talk. And then introduce yourself. I think that's important. We're a conference. People are there. They should know a bit about you. That's not a resume. It's not like I worked at those companies and then, you shouldn't have 5 slides and telling your entire life. One slide telling a little bit about you. You can kind of combine that with your talk. Tell them the background that is interesting about you when they listen to the talk. Like, I like C++, I do C++ for many years, and this is, this can be part of your motivation. You can do the motivation and then go into an introduction of you and say, well, and this is where those motivations come from. That's myself. I work here. And then you start your talk. You can make this a natural flow of your talk. And that's how you should start your talk, and all the things you should be aware about before and during you start your talk. Also makes later the life of the video editor and all the people that working on having that talk later be visible on the internet, makes their life a lot easier, and leads to a better result of the recorded talk for yourself, right? So, thank you. One more thing I want to point out is there's a great talk on how to end your talk by Kate Gregory, also from the first Speaking About C++ event. So if you want to know how you end your talk, that is a great topic too when you're giving a talk. There's, I think, some good feedback from Kate here, and so go ahead if you're interested in that. If your talk gets selected to a conference, take a mental note to watch this. So that's basically everything I wanted to say. Thank you for listening. This is kind of the bonus now, the banter after the talk. My motivation is that I think that a lot of even the experienced speakers in our audience, in our community, need to still sometimes learn a bit about on how they start their talk and how things go. But also, like, when we start our talks at conferences, this is live, and people are nervous and they're not always going to follow things. So having like a template which actually makes you follow that, and having slides which make you follow that, makes that a lot easier. And in general, I think that most people are actually starting the talks very good. And to first actually, give a preview of the talk, to give an introduction, a motivation, an agenda, what are we going to cover, what are the expectations to be at this talk, is a very good thing to do, and will improve your reception of the audience and also their experience. And that is the whole motivation why I shared that. And with that, thank you for listening.